Just
Welcome to PuckTalkCS. We have two sensational guests. We have Jonny Lazarus, who is the co-host of the Blue Crew podcast. Last time we had him on, it was the Blue Yorker podcast, from my understanding, right, Jonny?
That is correct.
All right.
Rebranding.
Yes, rebrand. And it's great. I love the blue background too. Like it ties everything together. And then we have Jake Zaretsky, who was a special guest in the past, but now he is part of the PuckTalkCS crew. We're having him become our social media manager. Big announcement. It's funny because I saw Steve earlier today, and we just came up with a decision last night and started sorting things out. So we'll have someone running the social media, be more engaging with whoever's listening on social media. But today we have both of these guests on because they're New York Ranger guys. And we had the Curfew Boys on last podcast to talk about the number 1 overall pick and the Montreal Canadiens. And we had to have Jonny back on. We had to have Jake back on. They got us some great viewership. And for the New York Rangers podcast we did during the season. And with the offseason, there's so many things going on in New York, despite the fact that New York just rebuilt their roster after sending out the letter in 2018. They're in a position where they're going to have to find money in the coming seasons, and their cup window's open for probably the next 3 to 4. All right, guys, let's start with Vincent Trocheck. They needed a second line center. So what did we think about the departure of Ryan Strome and Andrew Kopp? And what do we think about Vincent Trocheck?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I'll lead off here, looking at the way Strome kind of, led the team, if you want to say he was an assistant captain, it kind of stings a little bit, and the same thing with Vetrano, you and I talked about it a little bit. He's got that shoot first mentality. So those are kind of two things that you have to be a little bit nervous about, with these guys leaving. Yeah, maybe the finishing ability wasn't necessarily there when, it needed to be. But at the same time, guys like Strome, they were leaders in the locker room. Same thing with Vetrano. He's very well liked, had a lot of chemistry with some guys as soon as he came in. So you got to wonder if Trocheck can really fill that gap. And, obviously we're going to touch on that a lot in this, this recording. But at the same time, Trocheck's going to be that guy. I think for the Rangers to get him at, that salary, I think it was 5.625. So I think that's a home run, especially for your second line center. You look around the league, you look at teams like Nashville who are paying Duchesne and Johansson $8 million a piece. And, you kind of have to look at it like a discount when you got two guys making less than 9-10 million as your 1 and 2C. So it's really important that the Rangers have two pretty solid deals at 1 and 2C.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on Jake, I mean, you kind of look at Carolina right now too, and I know Carolina picked up Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty, but like they're missing a second line center right now, and that's such a big position in hockey. And I think everyone kind of knew this was coming, and the whole playoffs was a tryout basically between Strome and Kopp, and I think anyone would tell you they'd prefer Trocheck over the other two. Obviously, like Jake said, like Strome was a great leader and just a great personality and great for the culture of the Rangers, which I think took a huge leap this past season as opposed to prior seasons. The Rangers were kind of known as like wussies, I feel like, the last couple of years under David Quinn, and guys like Strome definitely helped build that mold. Strome was never afraid to drop the gloves, but there comes a time when you just have to move on from certain players, and this happened to be that time. And sure, I know people aren't happy with the 7-year term with Trocheck, but if they don't win the cup in the next 4 to 5 years, like, that's when you got to panic, not like the last 3 years of Trocheck's contract isn't going to make or break this franchise. Right. So, I think the main focus of this offseason was to fill that gap. And I think if you ask most fans, I think a lot of fans would tell you they wanted Malkin maybe over Trocheck, which, I was kind of one of those, like, how could you not want Evgeny Malkin? But, funny enough, I actually heard that like a week prior to free agency, like the Rangers were on Trocheck, like he was their guy the entire time. So there's got to be some kind of, behind the scenes, like feeling toward Trocheck. Obviously he played for Gallant in Florida, so they had that pre-existing relationship. But I think Drury's a guy who like knows what he wants and knows how to build a team. So I kind of trust them. And, I don't want to ramble on too much, but I'm happy with it. We'll just got to see how it fits,
Hey, ramble on. Big move this offseason. I think it's surprising because it's not the player that Trocheck is, it's the fact that they were able to fill that role. Now, next question, I'm going to tee it up for Jonny first, then we'll go to you, Jake. Philip Hedl, the kid line.
Here we go.
Yeah. Jonny,
I knew it was coming.
So
I could debate this for hours.
I know. Well, it's so fun. Well, here we go.
Yeah.
Open the floor. Hopefully it is an hour long. So, okay. I'm from the camp. I'm from the school, for Jake and Jonny. I think Jake knows. I personally believe that Philip Hedl could have been the reverse of how modern hockey is played, where he's the center that's feeding the winger in Panarin. I personally believe that if it came down to not acquiring a 2C or signing a 2C at the time, pre-Trocheck, that Philip Hedl was showing upside to become the 2 center in New York. I think where the debate lies is how much we've seen from him. He had like 7 goals regular season, 8 goal playoff or something like that, like 9 goal regular season. So the question's really about the numbers.
Right.
But I think that with the assessment, maybe they should have been looking at the roster and the cap situation coming up. But I personally believe 6'3", he's got nice hands. He played really well with the forecheck. He has the goal scoring ability. What I know Cody says a lot is about how we see that in bunches. Like we see that in he'll score 2 goals, but then it's like for 5 games, he's not present.
Yeah.
I do think Vincent Trocheck was a great answer. It's strange though, because you had Strome and Kopp, who we just mentioned, and then Philip Hedl. Where did you, I know where Johnny and Jake fell, but like, where do you think he fits into the mold this season?
I think he's a fine third line center, but I actually tweeted it, or I think I talked about it the other day in our show. If you want to get him more exposure, throw him in that Strome spot on power play, on the first power play unit. Like that bumper position, if they don't want to change up the whole structure, is just there to simply be a distraction. You want to draw a defenseman to you to open up that cross seam lane. So if you want Hedl to get more reps, just throw him on power play 1 and then balance out your second power play with Trocheck and Lafreniere and let the skill guys take over on the second unit also. And I know everyone's like, oh, Lafreniere, he needs to grow, he needs to develop, he needs to be on power play 1 and be the big guns. No, that's not how you develop your game. You develop your game by getting all the reps and the touches. Like Lafreniere is a skill guy. He can shoot the puck. He can make plays. He can pass the puck. He needs to be on the half wall, and you're not putting Lafreniere on the half wall over Mika or Panarin. So like him being in that bumper spot on the first line, I know we're kind of talking about Hedl. I didn't mean to get sidetracked, but I think Lafreniere being the first power play unit is not good for his growth, but I think it's great for Hedl's because Hedl can get those touches, get those reps that he wouldn't really get on the second unit. And, you know, listen, like Hedl's still a very young guy and he's not physically developed there yet. And I think that's the biggest thing for him. Like, is he going to bring the Rangers over the hump as a second line center? Like, I think no. Is it great for his overall development? Sure. But like you just made the conference finals. You can't take a step back and take a chance on, you know, a guy who's not fully legit yet, where Trocheck has proved himself. And, you know, I want to hear Jake's opinion before I say more.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. Just, I mean, look at the list of like under 23, under 22-year-old centers in the NHL.
Are you on my side here? Yeah, I feel like you're on my
yeah.
team.
Well, yeah. Tell me. Honestly, tell me how many centers in the NHL are like sub 22, sub 23 who are in the top 6. There's a very short list. It's like Jack Hughes, Trevor Zegras, and maybe a few others. But yeah. And at the same time, I remember Philip Hedl is 22 years old, right? He's on his second NHL contract, and he's due for one next year, which I think could end up being arguably one of the greatest contracts ever if it's a good deal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I think Lafreniere needs to really develop that scoring touch because as a first overall pick, you want that player to really score goals for you. And, you know, as many assists you can rack up, you want that guy to be a primary goal scorer. So for a guy like Hedl, for example, who is very close to being a fringe 2C, you know, you start giving him more opportunities to be a playmaker and start producing. That's all he really needs to do. Like Lafreniere, the expectation is above production, right? It's like you want him to produce and then above, right? But for Hedl, you just want to see him produce. You want to see 30, 40 points, third line, whatever. You just want to see him doing well. So I think for that instance in the power play, I think you slot him in at that power play 1 spot center and just have him either be the bumper, just be a guy out there who they can pass to and have a good option. And I saw a Daily Faceoff too the other day. They have him actually listed as their 1C for that PP1. So
they do. I didn't even see that.
They do. And I really don't think Trocheck is the good fit there for that PP1 because I think he can be the crier for that second unit. So dude, we're
aligned.
Yeah, man. I think
virtual handshake.
I think
virtual handshake.
Yeah. there is a very big disparity in Ranger fans. I think that there's a lot that really get it and a lot that are still catching up.
To that point, everyone's like, "Oh, sorry, let me turn off my do not disturb." I don't know if you guys heard that.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. You're good.
Jake, to that point, like everyone's saying, "Oh, Trocheck's a righty; he'll fit perfectly in that Strome spot." Like, no, that doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. No, right?
Yeah, he played a net front in Carolina, like he should play net front in New York, and I think having him playing that front on that second unit makes the most sense. And we saw it in the playoffs. Heedle can shoot the puck. He has a solid one-timer in that slot area. He scored like 2 or 3 one-time goals, I think, in the playoffs from that area. So,
yeah,
why not try it out and see what happens?
I agree for sure.
And I think what a great point is that Jake brought up was age. And as Jonny brought up, taking the step back. Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere are supposed to be taking this step where they're filling in the void of Frank Vetrano on the first line and Kopp on the second line, or whoever was forced to the wing, which was Andrew Kopp. So the question becomes, were you going to have Phil Heedle as your 2C and then Caco on the second line and Lafreniere on the first line, when I don't think the numbers should be the focus for those players, but you have to question that. You take Vetrano shoot first guy, and all the goals they scored. If a Chris Kreider scores 30 goals as opposed to 52, someone has to fill the 22 goal gap.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to be those players that step into that top 6. So how do you guys feel about Caco and Lafreniere stepping into the top 6?
I think they're ready. I do. I think now more than ever, because of, how high their ceiling is, I think Heedle, obviously, you got to look at it. He was a later round pick, but for guys that are, the first and second overall picks in their respective drafts, I think now is really the time. You got rid of Buchnevich to make that spot for Lafreniere or Kako at either one. And then now you don't re-sign Vetrano in the hopes that you could bring Kako back and have him elevate to that second line role. So the top, I think the first line is set, right? We have that Kreider, Mika, Lafreniere, which I think is going to be special, so special. Mm-hmm. Second line, pretty much the same, hoping they really can figure out the Kako situation. I'm not really that nervous, but I think it'll get done. So that second line will be Panarin, Trocheck, Kako. But then the third line, right? So we're just looking at this, for example. I think a lot is riding on that third line right wing spot. So, being able to kind of fill those 22 goals in, right? If you give Blay and Heedle like Goodrow or like Carpenter or Reeves, that line their production goes down immediately, right? So you need that young, speedy forward, even if he's not going to lay the body or whatever, just somebody to at least make a move, create a passing lane. So just to get a goal on a shift, not, go out there and be a non-factor. And I think that Blay can go into the corner, get the puck, and just create opportunities, because if Heedle gets the puck on a stick, he can do whatever he wants with it, really. I mean, he showed that in the playoffs. So it's going to be really important for sure to be able to fill in those goals, like you said. And I think a lot is riding on that third line to be able to, produce offense and not just be a checking line.
Well, so are you saying Kravtsov? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're kind of leading at?
For me, so we're going to open the can of worms with Kravtsov.
Well, right? I don't know. I may as well. I don't know.
Yeah. So no, I think I love to share my opinion on that as well, if we want to go in that direction, because that's a big story out of New York this week, was that Kravtsov came back over. Mm-hmm. He's had a pretty tumultuous relationship with the Rangers management. Chris Drury seems to be a fan of both Offman and Kravtsov. Offman, his draft selection, and Kravtsov, who has been in the system for a little while now. It seems that Drury worked for a little while to try and get him back into the mix. Yeah. Is that the third line right winger? Is it Kravtsov or Offman? I would be pleased with both. I like Offman's upside. He's still 20, but he was also the last player cut from camp last year. So who do you think has a better chance at claiming that role, claiming that spot on the roster?
I mean, if you look at it from Drury's perspective, I would lean Offman. I think just because
really?
I'm not saying like my opinion, because I haven't seen enough from Offman.
Right.
I just think literally if you're from the hockey mindset, a lot of people like their homegrown guys, and like Maddie said, Drury selected Offman. So like in Drury's mind, I feel like he wants to give the kid a chance that he personally picked, whereas Kravtsov, obviously has been around for 2 to 3 years now. I think 2018 and hasn't necessarily really showed himself. Right. So, do you want to take the chance and maybe ruin Offman's confidence? Not necessarily that it would ruin his confidence, but you got to remember too, I think there's the rule, if you're not 20 years old, you can't play in the AHL. So Offman would go back to junior, which for him, listen, playing in junior, he'll dominate whatever, but he's not going to get any better after scoring 50 goals in the junior league that he dominated. That's not going to help his growth by any means. He needs to be playing with men, because that's how he's going to grow. So I think if you put yourself in Drury's position, in Drury's mind, I think he'd rather give Offman that chance over Kravtsov. Plus, like you said, Kravtsov doesn't have the best relationship with management. and he's a tradable guy, right? Like other organizations would like to pick him up and see what he could do and give him another chance. So I think honestly, I would not be surprised if Othman is that third line winger. And then again, too, like for some reason, I don't know why, but I have a strange thought that Brodzinski might surprise people and like get that third line slot. I like him, man.
I'm a fan too.
He's a fast skater. He can shoot the puck. Like
that goal against Anaheim, sweet, right over his shoulder. Dirty.
So I think like why not give Brodzinski the chance? You know, like I think the team likes him. I think he fits in well. He can skate. He can shoot. He can hit. Like I think he could be a fine third liner too.
Yeah, he fits that role that they wanted. Like he plays with physical edge. He plays with tenacity and speed. Goes into corners. Has a good shot. Just one shout out, Statboy Steve. I think he was the person that brought up Othman having to return to gotta give him the shout out to the junior. And then also what I wanted to bring up quickly to Johnny's point about homegrown is they opted to draft a right wing, which they had plenty of wingers in a draft where they could have drafted a young center and kind of avoided some of the center problems that within the organization they've had. But now Will Cooley looks like he may have an opportunity at the lineup. That's what Brooks has said this week, and Vince has said on Low Hub this week. But I want to hear Jake's opinion on where that third line could be.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For me, it's just about who's going to earn it, right? You know, we could look at the paper game and say, you know, Kravtsov versus Othman or Brodzinski or whatever. But if Kravtsov has an amazing camp, they're not going to be like, oh, well, we want to see Othman. No, they're going to give it to Kravtsov. And so in my situation, I look at Kravtsov's, you know, if I could put him into my shoes, right? At the stage the Rangers were at last year, they knew that they didn't really want somebody younger, and they knew that they needed to get tougher. And as much as Kravtsov would have loved to play, I don't think he was going to be that guy that the Rangers really wanted. And look how it turned out to be. 2 years ago, you look back to him not making the roster with Quinn, right? Quinn didn't really like the situation, didn't put him in the lineup, whatever, done and dusted, right? So there's a lot to really look at with Kravtsov's situation. I think, again, still very young. Same thing with Hedl, very young, like 4, 5, 6 years away from the prime of these players, which is crazy because I feel like we've had Hedl forever. Same with Kravtsov.
Yeah, I feel that too, honestly, the Hedl thing. Yeah, I feel like he's been around for 5 years.
It's insane. So, you know, I feel like I'm going to see Hedl on that 2014 highlight tape. Like, I'm like, where's Philip Hedl, you know? So, no, but it's like, I think the most important thing is being able to remember that these guys are young. If Kravtsov can crack, my dad's going crazy right now, but if Kravtsov can crack the lineup, that'd be ridiculous. Like, I think that'd be awesome to see him play that third line role. And, you know, he's got, I want to say he's playing for Tractor, right? Chelobinsk? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so I mean,
have no idea.
that's a grown man league right there. So you know, I think he's been proving it. He had that really sick move the other year or whatever. The
backhand shelf, like through legs or whatever.
The toe drag, that was crazy. So he's got a lot of potential. I would really actually love for him to stay, and I would love for him to try and play because again, top 10 pick in the NHL draft. You know, you want to give that guy as much of a chance as you can. And now more than ever. So hopefully he can impress in camp. And I love the aspect of Jonny Brodzinski. If he can somehow, some way, like come into training camp and blow people's minds and be like, whoa, like this guy's got it. Like how Keandre Miller did that. And he earned his way a spot into the roster just because he started shocking people. So that'd be sick to see.
I don't know if this is a stretch, but Brodzinski reminds me a lot of a young Ryan Callahan. I mean, you guys are much younger than I am, so I don't know if you remember watching him like in like 06, 07. Like, you guys are, how old are you guys?
It's
then?
More highlights. Callahan, the biggest
I was
Callahan
in kindergarten.
Yeah, like I was saying, I watched Ryan Callahan when he wore number 43. Like, you guys probably don't remember.
Man,
no.
Like my Phil Hedl jersey I got when I was a junior in high school. Like when they drafted him, like once he started like climbing up, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get his jersey. Now I'm almost in the real world. Like I'm a year out from the real world. So like, Ryan Callahan was like, I was still like in diapers, man.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. That's like my Rangers childhood. But if you watch any Callahan highlights, like I think Brodzinski, you know, in like 4 to 5 years will have a similar like, you know, playing
that'd be
style.
Sick. Yeah. And obviously the production gap is definitely big, but at the same time, I could see that style. I could see like that, like doesn't really care about what anybody else thinks, just do your job kind of player. I could definitely see that. So that'd be cool. And he was actually a Kings draft pick, right? I want to say. I think he was drafted by
Brodzinski?
Brodzinski.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
I think did he go to St. Cloud? I think he played at St. Cloud.
I'd have to do a double check.
Well, there was also a point when the Rangers had so many guys that were injured or like there was COVID business and like there was injuries they played a game when they went West Coast. They played a game against Anaheim. And I thought that's when the most fans were pleased with Barron and Brodzinski over any of the other AHL players. But I think what's good to segue into kind of the prospect pool and like who can nab a spot, like I brought up Will Cooley before, are the players like Chris Drury keeps stating in his press conferences that he loves a competitive camp. I think that's only a good thing for the organization because I'm sure you both agree that the Rangers will get the best result out of a competitive camp. I know a few years back, Lias Anderson didn't make the team, and I believe it was Phil Hedl the next season didn't make the team. He played in the AHL and then he scored against Tampa Bay in like his first game. I think it's a good thing that it makes for a competitive camp, but what prospects do you think could make the roster in a Nils Lundqvist or a Will Cooley?
John, you want to tee it off here?
I mean, mine's biased, but I'm going Bobby Trevigno. He was MVP of camp, according to Vince, and he's a tough little fucker. I don't know if I can curse on here, but that's like what he is. You know, he's like a very, I don't know what his NHL comparisons are, but I've watched Bobby play like a pretty good amount. Obviously, he's a UMass guy and a Long Island guy, so we have a lot in common. But he's like a little Brad Marchand out there, man. Like he's always, kind of excelled at every level and has always been like counted out in a sense because his size. But that kid plays with so much grit and like exactly what the Rangers want to be. And I really do think like if there's anyone to surprise, it's Bobby because he wasn't drafted. He, signed out of college. He was the Hockey East MVP, like can obviously rise to the occasion. And, I think not a lot of people are giving him as much hype as he might deserve because he hasn't really had so much pro experience. But man, I would not be surprised if Bobby made the team out of camp.
Yeah. And, there's obviously a bunch of names, it's crazy because camp's almost been done for a week now. I think it ended on the 15th. So,
the Sikora kid, I haven't seen it. Like, I haven't.
He got signed to his entry level.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be surprised if he makes the training camp roster, obviously. But I just in terms of young guys, obviously Trevino was an MVP. I'm sure they're going to want to have a look at him against all those bigger guys and see how he could fare. But I think Will Coyle will be up there. I'm really having a tough time pronouncing that, but he'll definitely be up there. Othman will certainly be at camp. Kravtsov. There's one guy though who I tweeted about it actually gained some traction. I wonder if Brendan Scanlon will get a look at training camp. I didn't hear his name a whole lot, during development camp, which is a little concerning. But he went to Omaha. I'm pulling up his stats here. I tweeted about him. A lot of teams were in on him. Like a lot of teams really wanted to sign him. He played for Hartford a little bit. He played 15 games last year, but at Omaha, played 38 games and had 31 points. So that's 25 assists, 6 goals. And that's really outstanding for a defenseman, especially at the college level. So hoping to maybe see him at camp. That would kind of be like my dark horse to maybe, be like a top 4 pair guy in Hartford and hopefully make some noise. But I don't know. I liked him when he got signed by the Rangers and hoping he could, have an impact.
Yeah, I think really the question is who pairs with Braden Schneider, right, on the defensive side, because I think whoever doesn't make the roster, that's been one of those blue chip like prospects over the last few years, will probably be involved in a trade at some point. How do you feel Chris Drury has managed the cushion to make trades in the future? Because there's not a lot of cap space right now, but because he has some options and trade options, do you think he'll make a move at the deadline? Well, we could start with Johnny.
I mean, it was his first year as a GM, so you can't really blame him. He was kind of put in a tight spot, and the team wants to be competitive, so I don't blame him for going for it. I think the deadline moves this year were, obviously not the best moves, like if you really just like look at it on paper, but I mean the team needed 5-5 goal scoring. That's what he added. Like you got to make your team better, right? Like that's the whole job. If you make the team worse, like you're not going to have a job in 2 or 3 years. So I see where he's coming from. As far as the money goes, I know after this coming season, there's a lot of questions, right? Because I think Lafreniere's ELC is up, Kayandre's ELC is up. So there's a lot of money that's going to have to go there because we don't want to lose those two. But yeah, I mean, I think this deadline, like it all depends on how the season goes, right? Because like, knock on wood, but there could be an injury. Let's say like Foxy or like Igor or Panarin get hurt, and the Rangers aren't really in the running for, a deep playoff run. Like, then you got to ask questions like, hey, maybe this isn't our year. Do we figure it out, 2 years down the road? So I think, it all depends on how the season's going and the direction of the team. Like this year, we knew we were competing for home ice in the playoffs. So why not go for it, right? Like you're going to have home ice in the first round, potentially the second round. So you got to build the best team you can to go deep in the playoffs. Like these things don't happen all that often, right? So as far as the deadline goes next year, I think Hedl could be up for a trade. Like who knows? Like I think he's an attractive young guy that other teams might want. And, depending on where the Rangers are in the standings, like they could even be sellers. So, I think it all really depends. I think it's tough to answer right now, but as far as Drury goes and managing the money, like, listen, he hasn't had the chance to build the team out, right? Like this is his first year. Like I think it'd be a bigger question mark in 2 years, like how he's spending all the money. So I'm not going to judge right now. He kind of fell into it, but I'm sure Jake might have a different opinion that could even change my mind. I have no idea,
Yeah, I mean, well, so what? I'm just looking here. The deadline space is going to be close to 22.5 million, and that could obviously change, depending on what happens, this year. But I can totally see Lafreniere having a great start to the year and getting that Jack Hughes type deal, where you're getting a 7-8 year deal and you're signing to what you might be in like 4 or 5 years, rather than because in my opinion, you want to lock up that number one guy. So I think Miller, hoping he can get a big deal. Same thing with Lafreniere. I would love if they got matching contracts because they're both really tight. I think that'd be awesome if they were both able to sign to the same term or whatever, like a 6x6 or a 7x7 type deal. Seriously, like I want to give them a bet for real.
Who doesn't?
Because they're insane. I mean, they're both just absolutely phenomenal. And so, that leaves next year, because the best part about the Rangers contracts, which everybody thinks is like, oh, they're in trouble, whatever. No, they're really not. Like your core guys are locked up for 4 years minimum, and that's the lowest term is Panarin's at 4 years. So, when you got guys like Trouba, Fox, right, all those guys locked up, your top 4 guys, now Trocheck locked up for 7 years, you really don't have a lot to worry about in terms of your core guys. So moving into the deadline next year, maybe they make one like really significant move to maybe bolster, who knows, if they need a new backup goalie, if Halak's really not performing well. I don't know. You never really know what could happen towards the midway point of the season, but I could definitely expect a big Lafreniere contract, maybe sometime in middle of November. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I think what they would. Yeah, I think what they would have to do though is probably their best options to trade Jacob Trouba. I know that's been a popular opinion.
That's the casual. That's the casual.
I don't
opinion.
like it. I don't like it because
I'm
he's
a
got
fan.
the full.
I liked how Trouba played in the postseason, and I think he and Miller were the 1B defensive pairing. I didn't think they were the second defensive pairing.
Yeah, everybody loves to pick on Trouba because he's the big guy, right? He's
it's 8 million. It's the number.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge number, right? Yeah, but look at what Carolina's got to do. Well, they got the retention from San Jose, but there's so many bad contracts in the NHL, and teams are finding a way. I think the prime example of a team was kind of in the dump is San Jose with that Erik Karlsson contract. But is 8 million really going to kill you for the next 4 years? I really don't think it's that bad.
Well, also Trouba was signed to that contract to essentially be what Fox has become. Like, if Fox didn't become Fox, like Trouba is still the number one power play guy. And he doesn't really have to step up offensively because Adam has done so well that like it takes the offensive pressure kind of off of Trouba. But Trouba has we saw it in the playoffs, like his goal against Pittsburgh in game 5 where he came down the wall and like, the backhand was a fucking muffin. Like Domingue should have stopped that. But like, that's a great offensive defenseman play. Like he pinched, he made the play, he made a move, he scored a goal like in a big time. Like he's capable of doing it, but how it's so rare that a $8 million defenseman is on your second pair. So like, I think that's why everyone's like, oh, like, the Trouba contract's terrible. But like when he signed it, it was a great contract.
Right.
Yeah. I think too, to your point. Oh, Jake.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I have like a hot question, like edge
Hit
of my
me,
seat
Jake.
kind of question here.
Hit me.
Well,
go for it.
If you took Trouba out of the lineup right now, right, and kept the exact team now, whatever, same thing going on, and you pushed it back to when the Rangers wanted Trouba, how many people in a poll would say yes, trade for Jacob Trouba?
Wait, I would say that. My mind's in a blender.
Okay, so they went and got Trouba in 2018, right?
Yeah.
I want to say, so if you had this full team now, right, all the players, same team, whatever, and you took
and we
Trouba
can get Trouba. We can get Trouba with this team.
A rumor came out that Trouba was available and the Rangers were the number one team. How many people in a poll do you think would say yes, we want him?
Probably like 15%.
I think everyone.
Come on, stop.
I think everyone. I think everyone would.
It'd be like 95% yes.
Here's why. Because I think if rumor came that it was for 8.5, I do think that there's that cloud, and I think that his play should not be viewed through that lens.
Right.
Because I remember, like, Johnny, I was literally at the gym. I'm benching, I'm so huge. Bro.
How much?
Oh, how much? 145.
That's what I do.
I know. It's enough.
But yeah, and I distinctly remember stopping because Cody, your co-host, was like, but that was one play. And I remember thinking, like, that was one play of a goal scoring, but I think
about the goal that I just mentioned.
Yeah, like he brings so many intangibles, but I just don't think those intangibles are worth 8.5.
Dude, I mean, anyone who watches him play, like, I honestly didn't think he had the best playoff, but there's so many things. Like his puck decisions were not great, but his defensive ability and just like the fear of playing against him is just like worth $4 million in itself. Like offensive players know when he's out. He's a modern day Scott Stevens in a sense. Like he really is. And
100%.
There aren't many defensemen like him. And like, I mean, he's a guy I know I would hate to play against if I was, if Trouba was on another team. I would hate for Panarin to be matched up against Trouba. Like I'd be in fear. Like,
oh yeah,
but even to that point too, like I know we were talking about the money in that lens, but people have the same lens with Panarin now. Panarin all of a sudden is now this like non-playoff performer, even though he had 16 points in 20 games or something like that, whatever you want to call it. But the narrative is, oh, he's not worth 11.5 million because he didn't produce.
He didn't do
what the hell are you talking about? Like,
well, and I think what happens too is that I personally thought Jacob Trouba actually, for his playing style, I think he performed a little bit better than Panarin. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think that Trouba took a little more heat than he deserved because there was already some negative opinions on him, and I didn't personally believe those, or like I didn't think that by watching all the games. But I thought that of course what happens is, like, the Rangers defeat Carolina, those things get swept under the rug. They lose in the conference final, they take the back-to-back champions to 6 games, and then all the dirty laundry comes out that, oh, Panarin should have done more and Trouba should, made some bad plays. But I personally thought Trouba's play against Pittsburgh, I mean, besides the 2 games that they got smoked in Pittsburgh, and against Carolina, the entirety of that series, I thought he played like almost as if he was the second number 1 defenseman on the team, which I know for you guys both know, like the number 1 statement that's stated when a team's going into the playoffs is like, if you have 2 number 1 defensemen on the roster, you have a really good chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Like Cale Makar, Devon Taves, where on any other team, Taves could be the number 1 defenseman.
That might be a stretch.
You think that's a stretch?
That might be a stretch.
Yeah.
Okay. He's good. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know. Would you? Man, there's.
I'm trying to think of a team where he'd be like the number 1 guy.
What side is he on? Left.
Left. Yeah.
Left.
I mean, like Buffalo or like Arizona, but I would still take Chikrin over. Not over.
I'd have Calgary. I'd have Calgary up there now, especially with their situation.
Who's Calgary's number 1D?
Rasmus Anderson, I want to say. I literally want to say
it's not Hannafin, is it?
Guy. Hannafin's probably
there, but I don't know if they're plays as their number 1.
I don't even know who their power play quarterback is. Like, I'm drawing a blank. Is that is it Anderson? The righty, right? Anderson's the righty.
Yeah, Anderson.
Yeah, it might be Rasmus Anderson. But yeah, I don't know. Devontae's is sick, but yeah, I mean the Rangers are. Yeah, it is Anderson.
You guys are also Q-Pack guys. So you're just boosting up Devontae's a little bit.
A little.
Hand them $60,000 a year. So
now Devon would never be the number 1 defenseman in Buffalo because Chase Prisky just got signed there. So
that's true.
No room there now. So got to find.
Do you guys know Chase at all or no?
I know him through
he was before my time. Like that was before I even know I was going there.
He's the best.
But wow, what a tangent we're on. Speaking of college guys and everything, John, did the Trevino podcast ever? Were you able to release that? No.
Nope. Unfortunately not. And I'm trying to get him and Jones on together, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, Zach Jones.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Cool. You think Zach Jones could be the lefty for Braden Schneider?
Man, I think they were great together, right? Like, I don't see why not. And also, like, I think Zach Jones is a great second unit power play quarterback. You know, he hasn't really gotten too many reps in that spot. And I know a lot of people probably say Keandre Miller should be that guy. But when you really look at the blue line, like as great as a skater as Keandre Miller is, I don't think he walks the line and sees the ice as well as Jones does. Keandre is a great, like, north south up and down the ice, like will beat anybody to the puck kind of skater.
Not east west. Yeah,
not east west.
I agree. I totally agree.
You know, Jones can duck walk. Yeah, like Trouba's not like the best skater.
Trouba's like there's like a little like circle like on
he's not a pretty
line.
Skater. Yeah, he's not
perfect.
A pretty skater.
There's like a little like cone where Trouba's perfect and you can just stay there because you give him the puck and he rips it right away. So it's fine. He doesn't have to move.
Yeah, but I mean, I had my cousin Jason Bisnoff, who works with Forbes, like came on and said he wanted Keandre Miller to play on the point with Fox on the power play unit for the first unit, and I was like, I don't know, that might be it. Like we might, like, as good as Keandre is, we might have a little bit of a overhypeness to him in a sense.
Pump the brakes action.
Yeah,
right?
You know, I agree.
I agree because he's still young. I mean, you got to be able to say from last year, like, wow, he was really good, but hopefully he can continue it next year, kind of like a progressive.
But I think people are going to expect like 40, 50 points out of him next year. And I'm like, I don't know. If that's,
yeah. I don't know.
You know, 30 is a reasonable expectation, I think.
I mean, if they put him with Fox, I mean, 50 might be possible. That's another hot take for later.
It's tough though I think it's always tough, like player grades, I always stay away from. And I stay away from like point totals, like, oh, Lafreniere should hit 50. Because like a lot goes into if he's on a checking line or like the third line's a quasi checking line and they can produce, well, he's probably not hitting 50. But if he's on Mika Zibanejad's wing, man, I hope he hits like 70. You know, I also think the expectations have been very high. What do you guys think?
What did he finish with last year? Like 30?
Yeah, 19 goals, 11 assists.
Come on. We gotta be like, you can't say 70.
Yeah. No. I mean,
come on.
I'm going extreme mode. Like point being, if he's on the third line, you know, he's probably putting up far, you know, like who's he playing with? What's their role? Like Chris Drury's always talked about what's the role when you go over the boards. Well, I'm sure, if he's in certain lines. So, but how do you feel the Rangers prospects have developed? And what do you guys like? How do you guys view that as Ranger? You know, you guys watch every game. You guys are in the Garden all the time. Like, what do you think other people's opinions are in New York, at MSG, and what do you think like the reality is of the situation with how prospects have developed, especially those big names in comparison to a Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, players of that like regard?
I mean, this is the first time I feel like in my lifetime where we really had like top 10 picks. So for me, I mean, I think there has been somewhat of a narrative like the last decade that the Rangers don't do a great job with the homegrown draft picks, and especially at the forward level. You know, some defensemen have been drafted and came in and made a huge difference. Like Mark Stahl was one of them who, you know, was a first round pick, I believe, and came in and played here for 13 years or something like that. And, you know, obviously Foxy wasn't drafted here. Keandre was drafted, and Keandre could be that, you know, next Mark Stahl kind of guy. But yeah, as far as, well, he was pretty good. You guys were young. He was pretty good. He scored some big goals back in the day, honestly.
2012 run.
2008 and 9, he had some big goals. He was a solid player. But I think when, you know, you look back, like growing up for me, I don't remember like a top 10 pick that like panned out in New York. I mean, the one guy I kind of remember who like only was here for 2 years was like Peter Pruka, and you guys probably don't even know who the fuck that is.
I do. Well, we aren't Ranger heads.
We try.
So, I mean, but at the same time, no, you're right. I look at their situation and like, I look at a team like the Devils who like the pressure is really there for Jack Hughes to develop, like because you know they're going to insert him right away. But look at a lot of the guys who get the finger pointed at for the development, right? Look at Lafreniere in his first year and how he was handled and how the situation really ended up. It was really a coaching error, right? You look at Kakko's development, right? There's not a lot of room on that right side with how Buchnevich was brought up and stuff like that. So, and Buchnevich, again, homegrown guy right there, right at it. So I'm not going to really fault the Rangers developing team because they've done a really good job at hiring new people and trying to bring analytics into the fold and whatever. But you look at a lot of the guys that they've traded for, Mika Zibanejad, for example, right? Happy anniversary a couple of days ago. you look at a trade like that and you're like, why do they need to develop a 1C like Filipino when they just made one of the greatest trades in their franchise's history? So I can't necessarily sit here and be so mad at Jeff Gordon or, Glenn Sather for not being able to put together a franchise that can develop roster players like Tampa can. But Tampa, again, at the same time, diamond in the rough situation, right? Where it's like, okay, Kucherov and Stamkos are hurt for the year. Let's call up Carter Verhaeghe and Anthony Cirelli and see how they play. And then they put up a bunch of points and they went back-to-back cups. So it's like that kind of situation. They got guys going down, then people find the holes to fill and they get it done. So I'm not going to really be upset with the Rangers for how they're developing players, because a lot of these great trades and a lot of their, role players have kind of just, filled into that spot. And I think it's working out for them now, especially more than ever.
And I think to that point, a huge thing, which Jake, you just touched on, but they don't have to, because people want to play here.
Yeah,
like,
that's huge.
Like
look at their camp.
Yeah, like
right?
Like everyone says, you kind of need to build through the draft or whatever. But like, who doesn't want to come? I'm trying to cut the F-bombs. Who doesn't want to come to New York City and play for the Rangers? It's such an easy sell that like, if a draft pick doesn't pan out, like there's another guy who wants to come fill that spot. So like, Jake,
New York's not like Columbus. Exactly. It's not like a Johnny Gaudreau. Like he fell from the heavens for Columbus.
Right.
Whereas, guess what?
Like you're
saying,
like,
now the guys are going to start to
show up,
Johnny Gaudreau maybe makes Columbus cool.
Yeah. Where's Matt Pikachuk going to go? Maybe I want to go there. It's crazy. Like imagine the chills and like the vibe in that development camp locker room of all these kids looking at each other from all different parts of the country, all different parts of the world. Like I am competing for a chance to play for arguably the greatest franchise in the sport. Right. So it's insane. Like it's surreal. Like the vibe in New York right now in terms of playing hockey, whether it's, just trying to make the team or being on the team, it's great right now. So everybody wants to be in that locker room. And I think it's a blessing.
Jake, I'm ecstatic you brought that up. You guys have a really good pulse. Jake has great seats at the games. Parents.
Thank you.
Always on ESPN.
His father and uncle, they were the people that held the Now I Can Die in Peace sign up. Johnny just interviewed Nick Kyprios, who's the player that when he went over to hold the cup up, that's when they were holding the sign. You guys have been part of you're part of that culture now. Like that's how I met Johnny, because Jake took me to a game. So what's the pulse on the city? The Mets are really good right now. The Yankees are the number one team in Major League Baseball. Giants not so good, Jets not so good, but it's been a long time since there's been a championship parade.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, what is the feeling when you talk to other fans? Like Johnny, you interview so many like people that are now a part of Rangers culture and who everybody knows if you're active on social media and at the Garden.
Oh, me?
Jake, yeah.
That's just I tweet the prime rib sandwich. That's why.
Yeah. Like what's the feeling in New York with, it's been some time since 1994. Like, what's the feeling you guys get about how the Garden feels, how the fandom feels?
You want to go, Jake?
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it starts with the playoffs and the team making the playoffs, right? People see that for the first time because remember, it's been 5 years, right? You think about a 10-year-old going from a 15-year-old. That's pretty much it's a full high school tenure, a full college tenure. These people going through school, right? Matt, we went through all of high school with the Rangers playing like absolute shit, right? It was just true. It was so bad. Yeah. We had to watch the Islanders. We had to watch them all be succeeding, and the Rangers sucked. They were so bad. And so you look at them now where it's like, okay, they're getting better. Well, now the Yankees are really good. I want a championship for New York because I'm sick of LA. I'm sick of them winning everything. I think just being from around the area and being able to see a lot of people who I know, a lot of people who I've seen going to Ranger games, whatever, at least just for them to be happy would be great. So as far as the Yankees go, as far as the Mets go, I'm rooting for them. I'm not necessarily a Yankee or Met fan, but I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping the Knicks land Donovan Mitchell. That'll be really good for them too. And obviously, red, white, and blue. I mean, who knows, right? The ceiling it's so high up for next year. It's so exciting. So the buzz in New York it's perfect right now.
I'm so happy you went first on this one because, well, our high school experience is completely opposite. I graduated high school in 2014. The night the Kings won the cup was my prom night. So like, oh yeah, it sucked. But dude, I really? But I got to grow up with, the Rangers era that was like always contending. Like I think in my childhood, they really missed the playoffs one year, which was that year they lost in the shootout in the last game of the year to the Flyers. Like that's really the one year that I
remember watching that.
Yeah. Like that's the one year I remember them like not making the playoffs. Like I became an actual like knowledgeable kid about hockey. I think like Henrik's rookie year in 2005, 2006, when Kevin Weeks was, originally the starter. Like that's when I first like not fell in love. I fell in love as a young kid, obviously, but like that's when I started to like understand. So for me, like my whole life, they were pretty relevant, like always making the playoffs. I didn't really know what it was like to not make the playoffs. And then, honestly, for me, I moved away to play hockey. And in those 6 years were the years I didn't make the playoffs. So like, I had been away from New York for so long that, them not making the playoffs to me was almost like I wasn't even in the city that much. So it was like, you don't really know what you're missing in a sense. But then this year, and obviously, like it's been a great year, like just personally for me with the podcast and like, all the media stuff and everything. And I think that's what made this year a little more special. Like, meeting you guys and just like you guys even knowing who I am was like super cool. Like that was awesome. And, walking around the Garden and just like having it be like it was a social event for all those playoff games.
It
right?
really
like,
was.
Like everyone getting drinks, going to the bar after. Like it was. I didn't need to go out. It was a fun night,
it's at the perfect time too, because I would never have wanted that when I was like 14 or 15 years old. And I got it. And I was there for those 2013, 14, 15, 16 runs. But at the same time, I don't really remember a lot of it. I remember the Pittsburgh, comeback down 3-1 in 2014, but at the that was 2014. Yeah. So I remember a lot of that stuff, but at the same time, feeling it now and being able to like understand what like the elders think and all the old people who have been around since God knows how long. Like my grandfather, for example, who's waited now 27 years. No, wait, yeah, it's going on 27 years.
And also now you can boost.
No, that is that is true.
That's a big fun factor.
That is true.
Big summer ice guy for me. I know we talked about this. Before we got on here, we were talking about it. But yeah, 27 years, Jake, and fun.
It's not. It's more. Right. My math is way off.
What, since 94?
Since 94.
It's going on 29 now, right?
28. Yeah. Next year will be 29.
So yeah, my grandfather was born in maybe New Year's Eve 1939. So he was 50. He was 54.
Yeah.
Like
holy shit. Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, I think I'm starting to feel it because I'm not like
just totally out of yawn.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's like, can we get that cut out?
Yeah.
We don't have.
That's my job. That's my job.
Yeah. No, Matt, honestly though, imagine this. My dad grew up an Islander fan because he's like from Roslyn, Long Island, and he's not like a diehard hockey fan, but his 4 years of high school were the 4 years the Islanders won the cup. So he literally freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, like my dad saw Stanley Cups. Like he imagine that.
Sure
like, that's
the
crazy.
Drinking age was lower then, so
yeah. I just got inducted, so those Celtic Club, Celtic Club vodka seltzers will be hitting harder.
It's the best. The best.
For
honestly,
sure.
there's nothing better than like just that like in between periods, like grabbing a beer with like people that you just know.
Yeah, you head back and then the lights go down.
The best.
Great.
City of Gods plays. I mean, that for me, I was like, that's
crazy. I mean, they did the playoffs so well. It was. I mean, I don't know. It felt like though during the playoffs, it was like, it was like you get off the saddle and it's like you brush off whatever, and then you pick your head back up and the horse is waiting for you to get back on. So it was.
Well, it's every other day for like 8 weeks. It was nuts.
Think and they never wanted to be in a lead.
Yeah.
They never wanted to lead a game.
No.
So it was never like, oh, we're up 5-0. Like it's like, against Pittsburgh, they were down every game.
Yeah.
I'd love to like insert if we're gonna clip this. I'd love to insert the picture of you and I, me looking out the window and you like with your head down in front of the screen when it was in triple overtime. That's like one of my favorite pictures. Like ever.
Yeah,
at the
game. You could just tell like
we were at college.
Yeah.
Oh, you were in school.
We were at school.
Yeah.
So this was like almost like leaving for the year, and I like had like this setup and everything, and me and Matt were watching the game, and we went to commercial or whatever, or like it was a stoppage. So I like got up and like looked out the window with my hands on my hips, like what's I think it's like a Stephen A meme or whatever, but like that was crazy. The fact that was the first game in the playoffs, like come on, like really.
Yeah, dude, the only games that I was at, in round one were game 1 and game 7, both overtime games. Like I was
insane.
But totally opposite.
You were a good luck charm. You were a good luck charm for a little bit though, right? Until Game 5. You were at Game 5 for the BCF,
No, I
right?
I wasn't at Game 5. I wasn't able to go to any conference final games. I was only at Game 1, Game 7 of round 1, and Game 3 of the Carolina series.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 2-0-1, I guess would be my record.
Yeah, it's just I mean, it was crazy. It was such a great postseason, and the experience that the players are going to get, and obviously us now. There's so many fans who are hooked. So yeah, I mean, New York 5, A+.
I'm not even kidding. Game 7 Game 7 is going to go down as one of the most fun nights of my life of the Penguin series. I was out. Yeah. It was a Sunday night. I was out till 3 a.m. Like I just I was
close.
Buckled.
Game 6, Carolina. I was at Game 6 against Carolina. I was at Game 6 against Carolina, and everybody gave me crap for it. But I thought the electricity in that place was louder than it was for that Game 7. Like
Johnny had like 2 goals, right? That was that game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You Jersey Shore guy?
I've spent some weekends.
What a transition!
Back in the day,
I was gonna say Game 6 Carolina. I was at Bar A in Belmar.
Never been there.
Wild.
Never been there.
Wild. Like it was on every TV. It was so. That was Phil Heedle. He scored those 2 goals. New York's 2C. But
that backhand shelf one was nasty.
Yeah.
But I guess since we just reminisced for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. We got off track there for a bit.
Yeah.
Report today was that Larry Brooks said that the Rangers won't be able to keep Ryan Lindgren and Barclay Goodrow beyond next season. Now, those are 2 Warrior guys. Like, I'm sure I know how you feel about them, but how do you feel about that report that this is a possibility they might not have 2 of their character guys?
Clickbait.
Yeah.
It's so clickbait. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, it's clickbait.
Especially this time of the summer.
Yeah. I also think like Lindgren will do anything to have his whole career with Fox.
Mm-hmm.
How could you not? How could you not? And I think Foxy would almost do the same. Like those guys genuinely are like best friends. They've been together for I think almost 7 years now, like just through their time in the development program and all that stuff. And I think he would not necessarily take a pay cut, but he'll try to make it work as much as he can, I think.
Well, who was the last player to take a pay cut? Like, honestly, like
for the Rangers,
just no in general, like whole league thinking.
I think
like,
McKinnon
or Marchand, either one, right?
I know Marchand's contract.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, quote unquote, if we're really thinking hometown or like discount or whatever, you can look at guys leaving money on the table in free agency, like Tavares did and like Panarin did. So. Those
Panarin
are 2 guys.
Money? I guess the Islanders.
Yeah. How could you not remember?
Yeah. What was it, like 12 something?
I want to say Panarin signed for 11.6, and then the Islanders offered him like 12.2, like 12.3. Yeah, which is just awesome. Matt, we were at your brother's graduation party for that.
Yeah, remember that? And the Islanders thought they were getting Bob and Artem.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was in line at the Bordy Barn. You guys never been there, probably. Yep. That place is awesome.
My roommate is a huge Islander fan, so he was like reading the Bob McKenzie tweet that like Bobrovsky and Panarin were like off to the Islanders, and then Mike Commodore tweeted like the insider tweet that they were both packing their bags. So like I was shaking at this grad party, and like I was like, what's gonna happen, whatever. And then the next day, wake up, I got to show you guys the clip, man. It's amazing. Avery's like running like up and down the house, like back and forth, like no, like no way they got him. So. That was another good day, but yeah, I was just thinking hometown discount. You don't really see it that often. I'd love Lindgren to take one, but it's so rare now. I think players are kind of more interested in the rest of their lives after hockey and how much money they can get for themselves. So,
yeah, I was hoping Nate Mack would kind of shift that with his contract because clearly they found success. So, even though Nichushkin got paid.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Stanley Cup will do that to you. So,
oh, of course.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna finish off with one question, the Rangers win the Stanley Cup. What do you do? I guess we'll start with Jake first. What's the day? What's your plan?
Well, like I haven't really my brain has just been all over, but like the thought of that and the impact. I mean, the experience, it goes so quick. Like, you think about Colorado winning the cup, it was like a week and a half, and then everyone's like free agency, where's Johnny Gaudreau going, or like where's Patty Kane going? It was just really quick. So it all comes and goes so quickly. I think the first thing I'm doing is crying. probably. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's crying, for sure. So after that, it's figuring out what do I need to do to make sure I can be first in line at the parade and do whatever I can to get as close as I can to the Stanley Cup. So there are a lot of different things, but to me, winning the Stanley Cup is like, God, I don't know. It's up there for me, just in terms of life, really thinking, because the impact it had on so many people in '94, just to at least see one was crazy. So to get that now would be insane, incredible.
I don't even know, man.
It's hard to think about it. Like I'm like,
I
I'm like,
don't
it's
even.
just,
I don't even know. My first call would be to Andrew Fox, and I'd be asking him a million times where the party's going to be. And I just find him, Adam's older brother.
Yeah.
Andrew's the guy that I like meet up with in between periods every game. Like he's always in the same spot. Like, I think Avery actually came to meet me there once. Like we're always like, if I'm at a Ranger game, you'll find me
Same
outside
spot.
section 104 in between every period. Like that's just where I chill, that section.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just become like a dedicated
It's like
spot.
a spot. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
So there's a lot of room there. Yeah. You guys, if you're ever at a game, just walk by 104.
Should get
If
you
you
a
don't
pen
see me
now.
there, I'm not at the game. So
yeah, should get you a pen. People are gonna want your autograph now, and they're gonna know where you are.
Yeah.
But I like in reality, like, I mean, as much as I love to go to the parade, like that's kind of like my nightmare. Like I hate being around like a shit ton of people. Like it's just not like my thing. Like I never go to like raves and all that stuff. Like just not my thing. But like, I mean, how could I not go? Like,
yeah, you gotta be there.
Yeah. But I just feel like it's like my literal hell, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like in this like weird internal battle. But
Gotta
I
let
mean,
loose, man.
Yeah, like you gotta let loose. Of
Rip
course,
the shirt off. Don't confine your body. Let it.
We
let
gotta
it all be
find
out
the
there.
cup and drink from it though. If they win, like
that's the thing.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you gotta find it. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, hopefully by the time they win, I could have worked my way up the ranks with Madison Square Garden. Maybe get myself in a position to where it comes into the office or whatever. But I gotta fill that thing up. I mean, I gotta get some sort of tilt, a picture too. It just, the feeling is insane, Matt. I'd actually like to hear what you have to say. It's all about location too, right?
Yeah.
Because like if they think about it this way, if they were in the cup final and the game was on the road, like think about it there, right? Because then where are we? Because
I'd still want to be in New York. I'd still want to be in New York.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a party. It'll be a party in New York City if they win the cup.
True.
Like if they were to win the cup in Colorado this year, like, yeah, it'd be cool. But like, where are you really going after? You know?
Right.
Like if you're in New York and you watch the game at a bar or whatever, like, or at the Garden, there's probably a viewing party at the Garden. Like you're partying in the city till
that is true
8 a.m.
until you're on the street.
Done.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But no, good point.
I guess we'll see what'll happen if they win this season. Well, hopefully you guys are on far more than from this time now in July till next June.
That hat is sick, by the way, Jake.
It is. Yeah, that is a nice one.
I found it at the Garden, so I actually been working on it all night tonight to like steam it to get it to curve. But when I bought it, I thought it was the sickest thing ever. But it had a freaking crack.
Flat rim or whatever. Oh, really?
Oh, it had a crack. Yeah, it came as a flat rim. It had a crack in it, and I was so devastated. But I fixed it. I think it looks great.
Is it a snapback or is it fitted?
It's fitted. Look at the back logo. How sick is that?
That's cool.
Could wear it, look like like one of these. But no, seriously, I want to get like a patch on the side, like maybe like 2023 Stanley Cup champion patch right there. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, maybe Vincent Trocheck will lead them to the prize.
I hope so. Right? What number do you think he's gonna wear? By the way,
16. No.
Yeah, that's an odd transition.
16? Yeah.
That's what he wore in Carolina.
What did he wear in Florida? 22.
That's a good question.
22 or 23.
Yeah, I don't know. Should be fun.
I want to look that up. I want to know that.
I like 16. 16 would be nice. Oh, but that fit right back into.
I know Carpenter just took 18.
If Trocheck takes 16, that's going to be really confusing. Because every time Panarin gives the puck to the middle and you see 16, you'd be like, Strome!
Yeah, and you think it's Sam Rosen, like, to Strome.
Yeah.
He wore 21 in Florida.
21, yeah. So imagine what Sam would have to do if Kachuk and Trocheck were on the same team.
21's available now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. So maybe he'll 21.
No, it's Goodrow. It's Goodrow.
21's Barclay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Any parting words from Jonny? I mean, Jake's now part of Puck Talk here. I mean, I'll say this now. I said this on the podcast I recorded earlier. Something's going to happen with Matt Tkachuk or a Ranger as soon as I post this. So we're just going to act like nothing's going to happen because Puck Talk's curse is we release an episode and something happens. So we'll see. But Jonny, any parting words, anything you got going on that you want to let anyone know?
I want you to save this forever because I really think 2025 is the year that they win the cup. I don't think it's this coming season. I don't think it's the following. I think it's 2025.
Huh.
I'm like very confident about that. I don't know why, but I think that's the year where everything kind of gets put together. Cause I like, you gotta like think about it deeply. Like just with the way the NHL is right now, like the only team that really kind of went on like a random run to win the cup was that 2012 Kings team. Like, you know, they hadn't really been to the conference final. They hadn't really been knocking on the door for a couple of years. Like that doesn't really happen very often, right? Like the Rangers have now gotten there. They've had that experience. They've won 2 Game 7s. So they know what it's like to play in those big games, but there's still got to be a little more heartbreak. Like, you know, like there's going to be times where, you know, we got lucky too, right? We played 2 backup goalies. Like I know people will say like that's whatever, but like it is kind of a big deal. Like if Freddie Anderson was in net for Carolina, like I think Carolina was going to win the Eastern Conference, you know, like he was a top 5 goalie in the league all year. So I do think there's still a lot of growth that needs to happen. And I think, you know, when we do win the Stanley Cup, if it does happen, I think, you know, the guys that we're leaning on are going to be like the Lafrenières or the Kakos. You know, I think those are the guys that are going to help get it done. Right. Like, you know, and even Foxy, like you look at Cale Makar, what he did this year. I mean, he's obviously like on another level, but I mean, McKinnon took him 9 years to get there, you know, like these guys, like it takes time. And I think the one negative about this season is that the standard might just be a little too high. But then again, when you have a Vezina goalie like Igor, like I'm not counting them out. I just think the year that they get over it is still like 2-3 years away.
Yeah, I could agree with that too, for sure. So
right.
bookmark it, Matt. Put it in.
Yeah. All right.
2025.
So I'll set the timer now and we'll say June 2025. Hopefully we'll look back on this and be like, man, Johnny was right.
What a genius that guy is.
What a genius.
Johnny, I don't know whatever happened to him, but so Johnny, you got
right
anything coming up with your podcast, Blue Crew?
Nothing too out of the ordinary. I was talking to Grinnell the other day, trying to get him on after Chicklets Cup, which would be cool to hear how that goes. But yeah, I mean, we actually want to try, I think, to do 2 episodes during the season. And I haven't talked about this yet, so I'll just say it, whatever. But I want to try and make it more like fan centric. So I want to get like not necessarily fans on as guests, but I'm trying to incorporate a way for fans. Like every Ranger fan wants to speak their mind, right? Everyone wants to be heard. So I'm trying to think of a way to like just get people to like send me like a voice note or like a certain topic they want to discuss, and I'll plug it into the episode and then kind of talk on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part of being a Ranger fan, right? Like as much as, you know, there are a bunch of idiots, there are a lot of people who like, you know the game and know the team. And it's fun to actually have like, you know, cool, meaningful conversations with other fans. Like, you know, this summer, honestly, has been the first summer where like people actually like know who I am in some sense, where like, you know, I've been to a bar and like, I've had like 3 guys come up to me and say like, dude, I fuck with your stuff. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I like, and they're saying, but they say like, get me on the pod. And I'm like, oh, like, I don't know you. Like, I don't want to have you on, but like, you know, but like at the same time, like, you know, you're a knowledgeable guy. Like, it's cool to talk to you. Like, I'd love to like, you know, get your opinion.
I have a question on like how like radio stations do phone calls. Same deal.
Same kind of vibe, but in podcast form. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do that. Cause like, dude, it's so hard when you post like 1 episode a week. Like you can only get so many people on, you know? So like, and that's the most fun part is like interacting with the fans. So, you know, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. And, you know, I'd love to cross collaborate, whatever you guys want to call it. If you guys want to come on my show this year, like, that'd be great. Like, I love you. You guys are great kids. I love you guys.
Thank you.
You don't know who Ryan Callahan is, which is crazy. No,
oh, stop it.
I'm kidding.
I got a jersey downstairs. I'll bring it up.
Johnny, it's tough because like my heart's there, like with New York, but you know, obviously our podcast, like I have such an interest for the game that like
more league focused.
Like we wanted to go league focused, but like, you know, I don't really have much of like, I keep myself very, very restrained with like the rivals. You know, New York just happens to have like 7 rivals. And like, we're talking about that a lot from the objective point, but you know, obviously I'd love to talk about the Rangers. So that would be cool.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be Rangers focused. Like just I think having different hockey minds, especially young ones like you guys is big. Like, I mean, listen, like everyone has like different perspectives. Like, honestly, I thought it was really cool that like my high school experience was completely opposite to yours. Like, I think that's great. Like, that's so crazy to me. You know, I can't imagine like I mean, obviously I can imagine growing up and like seeing it. I've never seen like one of my teams win a championship. Like I'm really diehard Rangers Knicks, and like I root for the Giants, but I don't like care about the Giants. Same with the Mets. So like for me, I've never experienced that championship where like, you know, when I went to UMass, all my friends from Boston were like Patriot fans, Red Sox fans, Bruins fans, like they all saw it. So like I think it is cool that you can have the same fandom of a certain team, but also just like totally different perspectives, you know? So, you know, that's something I appreciate as well. Like, I think it's crazy to me that you guys spent high school like with a Rangers team that just wasn't even like competitive. Like that's
horrible.
That sucks.
And it's
dude.
funny. It
That
goes back.
sucks.
Yeah.
They were so bad. The Rob
That
O'Gara
sucks.
days. Come on now.
Yeah.
Hey, don't diss on Robbo. He's a Long Island guy.
will
Don't
you
diss on him.
Stop it. Please
He's a Long Island
stop
guy.
it. Please.
Nice
I knew him
guy.
as a New York. I knew him as a New York Ranger.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That's so funny. That's hilarious. But I guess yeah. So when you guys were like 9th grade, who was your favorite player?
Matt Zuccarello.
Okay. That's
I was actually really, really big, like Christmas. It was like, yes, I'm Christian. I was a big Mika Zibanejad guy. Like as soon as they got him, same as Phil Heedle. So like those jerseys are like Reebok.
Yeah.
So that's cool because like
throwback.
For whatever reason, like I usually have like some cold takes and like usually I'm not on a wave until it's like very obvious, but like those were like, no man, Mika's gonna be great. And then like he was. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. The jersey I wore through high school, and actually I wore on I think until this year. For the last 10 years, I was wearing a Winter Classic Artem Anisimov jersey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, you brought up the other day on your pod too. Like he was Kane and Panarin center. Bring them all over. Why not?
Bring him back.
Yeah,
why not?
Right.
I don't even know if he's still playing. I have no idea where he is. Ottawa. He was actually in Ottawa this year. That's a lie. I knew that.
2016 was like the start. I mean, we don't have to go into it because I know we're approaching the end here.
Yeah,
but...
I'm sure we can. I'm sure we could talk all night. But yeah, Johnny, I'm glad you're finding ways to incorporate the fans on. That's a good. I like the idea. If you have anything else you want to plug away, I know you're big on Twitter, so.
Appreciate that. But yeah, just the Blue Crew, Twitter, Instagram, and just unless you're a total moron, feel free to DM me. But they're I mean, you'd be shocked at some of the opinions I've heard, but I mean, I get it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, we're starting to get to that point where like online, like people will DM us if we put up
fun,
like
though.
trade.
It's fun. Right?
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
it's fun.
The interaction's fantastic.
That's like
awesome.
the whole point. You know, that's like everything behind it too. Like obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into like creating the podcast and keeping it up and running and interesting. But like the fun thing is when like you just interact with a random fan. It's like that's pretty fun.
And it'll be cool when you guys go to a game next year and like someone tells you, "Oh, I listened to your," like that'll be really cool. Like that's a great feeling. Like that's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as like final thoughts, like I don't know what you guys got any hot takes going into next year. If I was the two of you, oh my God, I would kill to go to ASU Halloween weekend against the Coyotes. You guys should be there. You're gonna be seniors. You're gonna be seniors in college.
You're talking about that.
I'm gonna be a junior, but yeah.
Well, it's weird if I go, but like you guys, what 21, 20 years old?
Yeah.
If you're not,
wait, so are the Rangers in Arizona?
Dude, it's October 30th, Sunday night game in Arizona.
Oh my God!
You gotta go.
Johnny, not with the price of gas right now.
Whoa.
Come on now.
Yeah, we're driving, please.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're not driving.
Yeah, you can drive. I'll fly.
I would take that. I would take that weekend over a spring break. I'm not even kidding.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Well, man, we got something put on our calendar.
Well, also, dude, like this is the only time probably like ever in NHL history that an NHL team is gonna be playing in a college rink. So like that's
which is ridiculous. Yeah, I want to experience that, but
it's gonna be honestly like maybe hot take. I don't think it is. But I guarantee you the narrative by like December is like, whoa, like playing in Arizona is actually fucking awesome because the stadium's gonna be filled with a bunch of college kids that are wasted and it's gonna be a sick atmosphere. I'm telling you, like as someone who played college hockey, like playing in a 4,000 or 5,000 seat arena that's like actually packed is a really cool experience. And I'm sure it's gonna be way better than playing in a 20,000 seat arena that has, half the building empty. I think players are gonna love playing there.
Yeah, especially they don't have a big draw. So like you get those college kids that are just going to go, like you're saying, it's like it's packed in on top of you.
Yeah.
That's what I like about, I've been to Toronto for a game up there.
Wow,
like
I've never been there.
those
That's sick.
Those city and it was awesome. Like Austin Matthews scored like goal of the week type deal, but those city arenas, like I've been in TD Garden as well, like where it's built so that it's like up as opposed to like Amelie's built and it's like the seatings goes
a little on top.
It's like the levels. Yeah. I think it's probably crazy as a player when like it feels like the fans are on top of you, like
so
you mentioned
sick.
for college, a lot of college.
sick.
Yeah. So, wow, we really don't want to wrap.
Honestly, Quinnipiac was like one of my
No,
favorite
it's just-
places to play.
Quinnipiac's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
the
arena's awesome.
Teletubbies, those guys were chirping the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was great this
Avery
year
Avery was a Teletubby at one point.
Was he? He was probably him.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been.
It was probably
Could've
him.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be something if he was when you were
Yeah.
playing. But yeah, even
Yeah.
like I'm up in the perch like when I call games there, so it's like even like having that where it's like you feel like you're on top of the ice even up there is cool. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like you're that far, like you're reading the names on the back, like everything that's going on. It's cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, Quinnipiac's pretty cool as a fan
Mhm.
and being up there. But yeah, since we don't want to wrap things up, I'll start.
You
plugging
don't want to
away.
wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, like,
That
listen,
doesn't sound like it. I mean, we're going crazy here.
so yeah, we introduced Jake. So glad Jonny came on. Normally this is Steve's job to wrap things up, but follow our Instagram, PuckTalkCS_podcast, Twitter, PuckTalkCS. Twitter, we have not really ventured in, so that's our next thing. I know Johnny's big on there. We have virtually done nothing for Twitter, so we're going to try and start our endeavor into Twitter land. I know it's some people call it toxic. I personally hopped off like on my personal account, but
I see
gotta
Jake
get
on
back
there
in.
all the time.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
No, I think it's a good thing. Well, maybe
Well,
it's Ethan. I
yeah.
see Ethan a lot too.
Ethan,
Ethan's
yeah,
big.
because Ethan usually covers a lot of topics. I just see a range or something, and I'm usually on that too. But I mean, we kind of tweet similar stuff. It's fun to just kind of have a voice. My friends will like pull up my tweets and be like, "Who are you talking to?" But like at the same time,
Hey, that's how I started, man. You never know.
No,
You never know.
who you're gonna click, right? That's why I brought up Brandon Scanlon, because that tweet got like 50, 60 likes, and people were into that. So yeah, it's always fun to share your opinion and hear other people's voices too. So
Yeah,
it's,
Jake, listen, 50 likes next tweet for Puck Talk.
or else I'm out. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, or else that's it.
Okay.
You guys have a
sounds
Twitter
good.
page? I don't know if I follow it.
No, Johnny, we literally like it's been existent, but we don't like we even used it. It just like uploads the episodes automatically up there. So we
Well, what's the handoff right now?
Puck Talk CS.
PuckTalk CS.
There should be Puck Talk with CNS. Maybe it's old, so we gotta like upgrade it. We just actually even
That's
on
my
top
job,
of that,
pal. I
you know,
got
I'm a
you.
transparent guy. We even just I got in touch with the graphic designer to like make better templates for our Instagram too, because like you know that's always good to be visually pleasing. But wow, I can't. If anyone's listening at this point in the podcast,
Yeah, right.
I know.
One social media tip for PuckTalk CS. The bio's a little aggressive.
Oh God. Wait, I kind of want to read it.
Welcome
So
to
I
the
haven't-
official Twitter account of PuckTalk CS. 4 exclamation points.
Listen, that's maybe from like 2016.
I'm just messing with you.
Wow.
Yeah, that might be from 2016. Instagram was this year. Twitter was there for like when we did this in high school, and then we completely like rebranded it. So come January, which is great because we met in like March. I knew Jake forever. So yeah,
Throw in the
okay.
follow
Yeah.
from our show account as well.
Legend.
Getting you up to 35. 34.
Beautiful.
Insane.
Yeah, I
I'm grateful
definitely
for
have my
all of
hands
them.
full, but I have my hands full, but it's exciting though because
I don't know if I have Jake on here. Jake.
Yeah, I
followed
think you
from
might.
the account. No, from
Thank
the
you.
show.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and I don't follow the Blue Crew either. So
Scumbag.
that's awful.
I
That's
comment on
terrible
every
my
post
part.
now.
Wow.
Loyal.
This is great. No, this was awesome. A lot of different things, which is what I wanted to do. I love talking about the Rangers, but at the same time, I get a headache if I talk about them for too long.
Yeah,
So,
we hit on a lot of stuff. Thank you guys
Yeah,
for
that's
having me. I
great.
appreciate it. Always down to
Yeah.
shoot the shit.
All right.
Of
Yeah, I'll
course.
wrap. Listen, toss in the wrap up here. Always remember.
Let's wrap it up for the 4th time.
Yeah, before anyone else speaks, always remember it's just the luck of the puck.
Of the puck. Let's go.